Hi guys. This is Melody Hopper, and I'm up in my hobby room right now because my girls are sleeping. So, quiet vlogging time. Anyway, I had some thoughts on my mind this morning, and I kind of wanted to share, some tips about when is it okay to have distance from some toxic friends or relatives in my case. And I kind of wanted to kind of clarify, like, what does that look like, and when should you do that? Like, what does it look like to you? And for me, right now, those people are my mom and my grandma and my aunt. And that over the years, I've tried as long as possible to make peace and like just deal with like not let things get to me, but by this, once I'm hitting 30, once I hit 30, I just had this, I can't, I just couldn't really ignore it anymore. And I couldn't ignore the way they were treating me. And I had to kind of start protecting myself, It's been about a year since I've stopped talking to my mom. Um, and, uh, you know, that was a decision that I felt like I had to make for myself. I didn't feel like I really had a choice because of the situation. Um, but having distance from my family this year, and not having to deal with them or interact with them has been very freeing for me. Like the stress level of like having to figure out how like, when they would come to town and like who would be at so and so's house and like not having these people like who the people I didn't want to have in my house because of the way they treated me, and so it just got very, very stressful and I had to create more and more like boundaries to be like, you know what? This so and so can't be here, if the so and so acts this way. And then, all my relatives would like get on this person's side and like act like this person had all the right to be at my house and like why was I being the mean one? So here's the thing, like I've had to really just, come down and unfortunately I am the only person in my family to set boundaries for the first time, And so they see me as the weird, sensitive one. Malaysia, she doesn't, like, she just, has all these weird rules and she doesn't like us and blah, blah, blah. So they have this idea of like who I am because I'm protecting myself, And they, think they can just walk all over me and make me obey a certain family rules, for our generation. Like we have these generational rules and, laws in our family that you're just supposed to obey. So if you don't obey them, well, so long to you. And I feel like, honestly, I feel like I'm the first person to like push those rules. Like I'm the first person to do what I need to do for myself. And they don't know what to do with me. And they have shamed me. They have literally written messages that have said, shame on you. And then they've gotten mad that I haven't responded to the messages that says shame on you. So, but I'm like, well, who would respond to a message that says shame on you? Like, that's just not the way you talk to somebody respectfully, I am a grown woman. I have a family. I'm married. I'm a mom to 3 kids. And so, what if I'm not getting a certain amount if I'm not getting a certain amount of respect, or like if I can't have, be supported in my choice to have kids, and I'm gonna get emails about what a horrible selfish person I am for having kids in the first place, and you know be ignored, like through just being pregnant, being ignored at a family wedding, or just being like given the cold shoulder because I got pregnant and you didn't want me to get pregnant. Like that's just child like we're that's such child play. If you can't, clearly, these are all signs that you're trying to tell me that what I'm doing is wrong. You don't agree with it. And well, that's fine. You don't have to agree with it, but the thing is, I can still choose. I still have the choice. I have every right to choose to get married and to be a mom. And my husband and I have every right to make the choice to have our own kids. So, like, that's completely up to us. And so that's where I have had to draw the line, especially now I've had 3 kids and where it's clearly that's where, people still stand. Then I'm like, you know what, guys? I've had to unfriend a lot of people on Facebook this past year, and it's been really good. It's been really good for me because like I don't have to worry about what they're gonna say or not say, if they're gonna like my posts and things like that. It's just all these little like stuff. But I've had to really just clean out this year because I really have things have really come to a head. Some things with my mom, some things with my, relatives on my mom's side. And so I've just had to just really just take them all out, like a Facebook of, just have some space from them, and just say, hey guys, if you can't, respect me and my choices and that I have a right to choose, then that's, then we can't, I can't continue to, be associated with you in that way. And they're just very toxic for me. And so, in my experience, my family's they're clearly toxic people for me. And I have to protect myself from that. And in some cases, something that came to a head with my mom this past year, last fall, through an email, she told me, that the blog that I had written, that I had been writing that year about the sexual abuse from my stepdad, and she said this, can quote her from email. She said, the blog that you wrote is your own story. That was some made up story, and that wasn't true. I was a witness to what happened, and I know that you flirted with your stepdad. And so, I feel like when she told me that, when my mom told me that last year, right around a year ago, last fall, I was furious. I'm like, Mama, don't you realize you're the only person who sees it, who wants to see it this way? Everybody else can see the abuse for the abuse, but my mom refuses to see it. She doesn't want to ever, see it. Or in case, because if she'd have to see it and recognize that my stepdad did sexually abuse me, then she'd also have to, accept the fact that, as a parent, she made a mistake by letting it happen. She's not taking responsibility in the fact that, well, how did the abuse happen under her nose all this time? She doesn't want to take all the responsibility too. It's just easier for her to say, you know what, you were flirting with him and I saw blah, blah, blah. So for the past 10 years, ever since this came out, that's been my mom's response, that the abuse is my fault. I'm just as responsible for it. And so when she kind of clarified that, because when she finally clarified that a year ago, I realized that I had to protect myself. I had to protect, I'm like, I cannot continue to be around my mom if this is where she's at and she's stating this. And I also cannot let my kids be around someone like that who feels, I was like, and I told her that, I was like, I can't let my kids be around a grandma who feels this way about me and who thinks I'm still responsible in this abuse. I cannot, that's absolutely not acceptable to me. And so I told her that I had to create some distance between us, to protect myself and to protect me and my family. And I feel like that was something I could not ignore. That was something I couldn't say. To me, I had no choice in that situation. So I had always kind of wondered and suspected that she didn't exactly see it as, abuse for many reasons. But then when she came out and said that that's where she still was, then, I was, it kind of brought me to a place where I needed to do that. And so, I have been praying, I've really been praying about the right ways to, how long should I have distance, from my mom? How long should I keep that distance from her? And I keep praying about it, and sometimes I question it. Lord, is this too much? Is it too long? Am I supposed to be reaching out to her? Am I keeping this up for too long? Because of course she's livid at me. She's very pissed off. And so understandably, she's mad. She's mad at me, because I cut her off right now, and she didn't raise her daughters to cut people off. So she's angry and she's mad at me and she's making me feel like it's all my fault, that I'm the person with a problem. But at the same time, I've been trusting God, and not having her in my life this year has been so freeing of a lot of stress. I've had so much stress ever since I like to be around my mom has always been stressful to a certain degree. And I'm always having to like be aware of like when I'm around her, like what's going to happen, like what are the interactions going to be between us. And so it's been nice to not have to worry about that. You know, like to have a break from all that, you know. And I've become a stronger person because of my freedom from her. And God has shown me how to be stronger. Like He's shown me how to be stronger outside of my mom's, you know, being on my side, or like me feeling like, you know, I used to just, you know, I was grieving a little bit that, you know, my mom will never be on my side because that's hard too. But can say that after a full year, I feel so much stronger. I feel like He had to show me who am I outside of my mom? What is my identity? And, you know, in myself, in my, like outside my family, outside of my mom. And like, it just really made me very strong and figuring out my own identity in God. And I think that was something he wanted me to go through. I don't know how much longer the distance between my mom and I needs to happen, but I do know that, you know, I'm just waiting for God to show me the right time, you know, to, you know, and right now I kind of feel like this is where we need to be. And the thing is, I do struggle with Mother's Day. Like I do struggle with like holidays, like Mother's Day. When Mother's Day passes past year and I was not talking to her, you know, like I'm wondering like, well, you know, of course she's gonna be like livid that if I don't contact her on Mother's Day. But like in my mind I'm thinking, is that the right thing? Like is there like a part of me that should be like doing something at all? Like just a sense of guilt because, well, she's my mom. But there was something that God just really gave me all the right quotes that whole weekend of Mother's Day this past year, because I kind of struggled a little bit. And I kind of felt like He kept telling me that I was doing the right thing. But there was a quote that I want to read to you guys because I feel like this really hit the nail on the head for me. It clarified that, you know, where I should stand with her. And this is something that I found, and this is a quote that was shared in the sexual abuse Facebook group that I'm a part of. And this was something that was specifically, you know, like for, you know, people, victims of sexual abuse with parents who are toxic and things like that. So I want to read this to you because it really clarifies some things for me. And so this is what it says. Survivors, let's honor Good Mother's Day, not toxic and abusive or neglectful ones. Don't suspend the hard, healthy boundaries you've worked so hard at setting simply for the sake of a made-up holiday. If you were sexually abused by your mom, if your mom has chosen your abuser over you, if your mom is toxic to your healing, ignore the day and move on as best as you can. Celebrate it in your own way, or tell us about it. Stay safe and strong, and don't cave in to sentiment or cling on to an ideal that cannot be. Today is the only day of the rest of your life. Let's keep walking. Guys, that was just like God's words to me. When I read that, I was just like, that, it freed me of any guilt and helped me to understand that I'm standing in the right. My mom doesn't feel like I am standing in the truth, but I know that I am. I know what happened to me, and I know that I'm standing in the truth of what happened, you know. So I really feel that was God's words, and I felt like it really clarified, you know, where I was standing with my mom, you know, how I needed to feel about that, and taking a stand and just staying strong. And God's like, you're doing the right thing. Just stay strong. Like, just stay strong in this until I tell you, until I change things, until I do whatever I want to do. And you guys, I still care about my mom. I pray for her all the time. I pray that God will like open her heart and like soften her heart and help her to see things. But I also am at a place where if she's never that way, if my mom's heart never changes, I'm okay with that. Like, I don't expect that anymore. I don't want it. I don't sit around waiting for my mom to change her mind or believe me or whatever, because it's been over 10 years. And I'm like, yeah, if she's not going to change her mind after 10 years, you know, she's probably not, there's a good chance she's probably never going to change her mind the rest of her life. And I'm okay with that. But I have to protect myself from my mom because, you know, she's been toxic to my healing, because she did choose my stepdad. Like, she chose life with my stepdad over me. And I was the one who had to, like, thrown out the back door. Like I was thrown out the back door, and while she moved on with the marriage with my stepdad, you know, which they divorced after, you know, so many years. But, you know, it's I felt like she chose him and like them over me, and I was left on the, like, on the sidewalk. I felt like I was left outside, like completely forgotten. They just threw me away because they kind of felt like that I had been this horrible person, you know, and that I had been the person responsible in the abuse as well. And my mom just saw me as the other woman. The moment that this came out, that's exactly, our relationship changed forever, because she suddenly saw me as the other woman. I was no longer her daughter anymore. I became the other woman. And that was like such a shaking time for a family. That just tore us apart. We were going down in a lot of ways, but that just was the day that came out. I lost my relationship with my mom. And so I would say that, you know, I grieved then, and I miss her. I miss her then, but I kind of feel like God's helped me to become stronger, and I'm okay now if I don't have, because He's given me other relationships and other, like, community, like other communities outside of all this.